For the 2025 to 2026 knowledge questions, prepare by focusing on these key areas: key accounting standards, understand standards like revenue recognition and financial instruments, audit processes, know the stages planning, risk assessment, testing and completion and auditor responsibilities, definitions and concepts, memorize terms like materiality, audit risk, and going concern, past papers. Study past questions, for example, 2012 to 2014 for common topics like internal controls and audit reporting. Scenario application. Practice applying knowledge to real-world cases, identifying risks, and addressing ethical issues. These steps will strengthen your exam preparation and confidence. We are going to look at a question from the 2014 exam. It is question 2, which is a knowledge question for 10 marks. The syllabus areas included are the following: internal auditors and value for money audits, documentation of audit evidence, and audit sampling. You must be careful when timing in the exam, especially as many of these questions are broken into subsections. You may spend longer than is necessary on some of these smaller questions and overrun on the exam as a whole. Therefore, aim for spending 1.8 minutes for every mark. This question should take no more than 18 minutes. To successfully complete this question, you will need to plan your answer, taking care with the time allocated to each part of the question. Be confident in the syllabus areas, and have clear and efficient communication. It may be worth pausing the video at this point and printing off the exam question, and that way you can follow as we talk through it. You may find some of these smaller exam questions contain areas of the syllabus that require a bit of thought. In the exam, if you cannot think of any ideas to generate into marks at first, leave a big space and move on, so as not to waste time that could be spent on other questions. Now, let's break down the requirements. Part A asks you to define the 3 E's of a value for money audit. This is for 3 marks, and so a description of each E will give you the marks. Just stating the 3 E's will not be enough. Part B asks you to describe 4 benefits of documenting audit work. This, I feel, is the most challenging part of this question, and would have left candidates searching for some ideas in the exam. Each benefit discussed will be awarded up to 1 mark each. Be careful not to spend more than 7 minutes on this area. Finally, Part C asks you to define what is meant by audit sampling and explain the need for this. A well-prepared candidate should have no problem with this part of the question and should spend around 5 minutes to complete it. Let's now focus on Part A and the value for money audit. A value for money audit is one of the many services that can be provided by the internal auditor. This type of work is concerned with ensuring the entity makes decisions within the business that achieves their overall objectives. Examples include making decisions on suppliers to use, increasing credit terms to customers, and expanding their product range. These decisions may have many benefits, but the business must consider whether there are any drawbacks, and whether these drawbacks outweigh the initial benefits. Therefore, the internal auditors can conduct a value for money audit. This looks at getting the best possible service for the least resources. It is otherwise regarded as a review of the 3 E's. The 3 E's stand for economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. To review economy is to obtain the best quality of resources for the least amounts of cost. The review efficiency is to gain the maximum output with minimum resources needed. To review for effectiveness is to look at whether the project will achieve the company objective or goal. To lay out these definitions on paper will gain you 1 mark each, therefore achieving the maximum marks in Part A. Part B, we must describe 4 benefits of documenting audit work. ISO 230 is the auditing standard that tells us what is needed in terms of audit documentation and why they should do it. This standard therefore assists with the answer for Part B. Many candidates would have been able to score marks here if they had kept a clear head and thought about why documenting evidence is important. Here are a few ideas of the benefits. By recording evidence in the audit file, it proves that the auditor did the work. It makes them accountable for their work. This then gives evidence that they followed the auditing standards and any other relevant laws and regulations. It proves the work was completed in detail in case there was ever a need to prove it. The evidence documented will assist when forming the independent opinion on the financial statements at the end of the audit process. As we know, audits can take a long time to complete, with a lot of detail to cover. The audit supervisors will need to review the work, and by having documented audit work, they will be able to assess what has been done and whether it is enough. Documentation will also assist the engagement partner. They will need to form the opinion on the financial statements at the end of the audit process. They will therefore benefit from a review of the completed audit work and notes regarding issues found during the audit when making this important decision. By keeping record of the work completed, the evidence obtained by the auditors, and the conclusions drawn from the work, it will assist with future audits. The following year's audit team will be able to review the work when planning what to do for their current year. If you could outline any 4 of these points in the exam, you will achieve maximum marks. Part C asks to define what is meant by audit sampling and explain the need for this. A sensible plan for this answer is to define audit sampling for 1 mark, and then think of 2 reasons where sampling is needed in an audit for the remaining 2 marks. Audit sampling is defined in ISO 530. The official definition is that sampling is the application of audit procedures to less than 100% of items within a population of audit relevance, such as all sampling units have a chance of selection in order to provide the auditor with a reasonable basis on which to draw conclusions about the entire population. For 1 mark, you will be expected to write this or something similar. It is best to prepare a version you can remember for the exam. You would also have been given a mark for an explanation of the methods. Therefore, mentioning that the auditor can select a sample using the statistical or non-statistical methods is also acceptable. The need for sampling is largely because they cannot possibly test every single transaction for every audit. For a large number of statutory audits, there are too many transactions, and therefore the auditor must choose a sample to decide if there could be a material misstatement present in the balance. If misstatements are found, the auditor will very often go on and increase the sample to test if there could be a larger problem in the balance. The other reason is because the auditor is not expected to provide absolute 100% assurance on the financial statements. Remember, they are supposed to provide reasonable assurance, which required a high level of detailed work in forming a conclusion. This does not expect them to look at every single transaction. We've now completed this question. Please remember, to be successful in this type of question, we need to plan the approach and ensure we have identified how long is needed for each part. Use headings to introduce your answers and space out your points, so it is clear for the marker where the marks can be allocated. And if you're unsure of an area, reference to the question on your answer page and leave a big space and move on, coming back to it when you have given yourself some time to generate ideas and complete some other questions. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you and good luck.